Have you ever found yourself saying things like, I'm not sure the organized church was God's idea, or my spiritual journey is my own and I don't need anyone else? But did you know that the concept of church was not first seen in the history during the book of Acts? It goes all the way back to the children of Israel in Exodus. God was building a congregation for himself when he delivered the people of Israel from slavery and gave them laws to live by. He was showing them how to be a community of people with one thing in common, that he was in the center of their lives. He even commanded them in Numbers 2:1-2, the people of Israel are to set up camp, circling the tent of meeting and facing it. And when you think about what position that put them in, it means that their backs were to their enemies. This was one of the very first actions of absolute trust in God to be their defender and protector. God's plan for community was about more than a place, the Promised Land, or even a race, the Jews. He always wanted to dwell with his people. Now, I will confess that at times I have wondered if what we're doing here looks anything like what God had planned. Is our modern day church what God had in mind for congregational living? In case you don't think the Israelites and God's plan for congregation translate to New Testament believers, let's make a stop in Jeremiah, where his new plan for congregation is prophesied. In Jeremiah 31, verses 31-34, it says, "Look, the days are coming. This is the Lord's declaration. When I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel, I will put my teaching within them and write it on their hearts. I will be their God and they will be my people. No longer will one teach his neighbor or his brother, saying, 'Know the Lord,' for they will know me from the least to the greatest of them." Jesus is the fulfillment of that promise. John 1 says, "The Word became flesh and dwelt among us." Through Jesus' sacrifice, we are that new people Jeremiah's prophesied new covenant is talking about. So why is congregation or church so important to the modern day Christian's life? We find so many references to what a mature Christian looks and acts like in Paul's letters to the churches that he planted along the Mediterranean region. Let's read one of his detailed descriptions in Colossians 3. Starting in verse 12, it says, "Therefore, as God's chosen ones, holy and dearly loved, put on compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience, bearing with one another and forgiving one another. Above all, put on love, which is the perfect bond of unity." Do you notice something about each one of these attributes? Not a single one of them is beneficial without other people. Being compassionate is great, only if someone is on the receiving end of your compassion. Kindness doesn't really work unless there's someone you're being kind to. These pursuits do not happen in isolation. They happen when a people are spiritually growing together. God wants the church to be a place where he can be in the center of his people, and we can be a family that challenges each other to grow in our faith and hold each other accountable. So what is church to you? I once heard it defined as the family God chooses for you. Do you feel a part of our church family? What are some ways that you could commit to being a responsible family member here at Arrowhead? Find an emoji that best describes what Arrowhead means to you and comment. I think mine would be the hands raised one. If you have 30 seconds or so, pray and ask God to show you how he wants to use you as a responsible family member at Arrowhead.